Hey everyone, what's up? It's Babylonius from peakofserenity.com here with a redo of my Mythic Shriekwing commentary video. The first one was good, but I felt like now that I've got a couple weeks and a little bit more practice, it would be best to go back through the fight, talk about things that I've learned, and give a little bit more recommendations. So, as per usual, you can find out a bunch more information below in the description, links to my weak auras, ways to support me through Patreon and PayPal, as well as links to the Monk Discord and peakofserenity.com itself. So let's get right in there. First thing you need to know about Shriekwing is it's the first boss in Castle Nathria, obviously. He's a giant bat gargoyle creature thing. And it's really entirely a single target fight with very few mechanics, but it's meant to be the entry level fight, so it really is not meant to be overly complicated. So first thing you're going to do and you're going to look at is talents. For this one, because it's primarily a single target encounter, you have some options. Tiger's Lust is generally the go-to as usual. Good Karma, there's no ads or anything to knock back nor nothing to stun, so Good Karma is a good little chunk of extra defensive ability. Diffuse Magic and Dampen Harm, Inner Strength, they're all relatively interchangeable. There's not a ton of damage on this fight, and the damage that's done, a lot of it is either physical or what's called sonic damage, and sonic damage is kind of a mix of both physical and magical. So really it's not that big of a deal either way because of the duration of the phases. You're not really going to get a lot of extra use out of diffuse or a lot of extra use out of dampen harm. So you can more or less go with whatever. But because there are additional physical debuffs, we'll go with dampen harm as the first one. It is primarily a single target fight, so generally the recommendation would be hit combo. However, because there is kind of a lengthy intermediate phase, a lot of people might find hit combo a little bit more difficult to keep up. Ideally you want to keep it going when you're dodging the orbs and stuff like that, and I'll talk about that. So that could just be a little bit more difficult. So Dance of Chi-Ji is a reasonable option for this. It's not going to dramatically make or break your damage. If you do choose to go with hit combo, you'll probably want to go with Chi Wave as your talent of choice in the first row, just because you can then alternate Chi Wave and Expel Harm in order to keep up your mastery buff going. You can use, they both have a 15-second cooldown, so every 7.5 seconds you use one. That keeps hit combo rolling. It also helps you to enter the next phase in with max chi, so you can go right back into your burst. If you want to go with Eye of the Tiger, then you probably should go with Dance of Chi-Ji. You still can go with hit combo, but then you'll have to mix in things like Flying Serpent Kick, maybe spend some chi on Spinning Crane Kick in addition to Expel Harm, because the boss can't be targeted, so you can't like sneak in a Crackling Jade Lightning or anything like that to keep your hit combo going. And lastly, Whirling Dragon Punch is the only choice in this row. So again, for the most part, these are going to be your kind of go-to choices. Ascension, Fist of the White Tiger, Energizing Elixir is not super big of a deal. This is a fight that does have, a big chunk of downtime, so giving yourself an extra chi to pool going into the second phase, an extra 20 energy to pool and stuff like that, that does help a little bit. So Ascension is a reasonable option, but generally the Fist of the White Tiger is a kind of the reasonable default for this. So again, if you want to go with hit combo for a little bit more single target damage, you'll probably want to go with Chi Wave unless you're confident that you can go with Eye of the Tiger and still keep up your hit combo while dodging orbs. If you're not super confident in that, stick with Eye of the Tiger and go with Dance of Chi-Ji, and you can do things like that. So all right, so let's get down into it. Boss, again, is mainly single target. We have since changed up our strategy for this. At first you'll see that we tanked the boss up here. Since this was the first week, we have moved to tanking them around this pillar. You'll see a lot of videos. This was the way that Limit did it, so it just really simplifies a lot of things. A lot less moving around for melee and for range. So you'll see the positioning is a little bit different this time around, but that's really not a dramatic difference. So again, the boss will be pulled. You will open up on the boss and do as much damage as you can. Go through your normal single target burst. One of the things that you'll want to watch is that Wave of Blood at the start is a very useful ability to get Touch of Karma in. So you'll see I popped Karma early, so that the cooldown comes up early, and then Wave of Blood here will eat through a big chunk of the damage. So again, you just kind of continue to go through your single target. Nothing really too crazy. During this phase, there's not much going on. The difference between let me find a better spot with it. So the difference between Mythic and Heroic, and you'll have to excuse the grainy quality, but I fixed some stuff after this fight to hopefully make things a little bit easier. But you'll see that the lantern is the additional thing. So you can only see the white orbs that come out with his echoing screech when you have a debuff from the lantern. So you'll see echoing screech goes out. I'll come over here and grab a stack of the buff. It does a little bit of damage, so you don't want to let it get stacked up too high, but it does allow you to see where the echoing streaks are going to be. Another thing to watch for, another useful kind of karma thing is the blind swipe he'll do. He'll kind of turn around and use blind swipe, which he'll do here in 5 seconds, and that is something else you can use karma for. But to go back a little bit, as you'll see, when he casts Echoing Shriek, which is coming up, you want to line of sight that. So one of the best things you can do is put a Transcendence down and then run out of line of sight. As you see, I have a Transcendence down, but I don't believe I use it. It's one of the weaknesses in my game, but really the difference is very minor. But it's definitely a fight that you can use Transcendence on rather healthily. Then you just go back to it being a single target fight. You want to avoid the blind swipe unless you're using it for karma. There's really no reason to have the debuff to track the orbs in this in-between phase. They don't bounce back around to us. But again, Wave of Blood is a useful thing for karma and primarily physical damage. So you see we had our tanks grab the lantern, give everybody a buff or a debuff so we can see the orbs. Then we'll be going into the intermission phase momentarily after this ear-splitting shriek. Again, you want to line of sight it. I used Transcendence that time. After the second one, he will port to the middle. And even though I definitely played it safer here, you can continue to attack him while he casts this Blood Shroud. You can continue to blow up, and then when he finishes, he knocks people back. So you do have time to get out. This is the phase where it kind of makes using hit combo a little bit more difficult, because not only do you want to keep up your hit combo, but you also want to avoid the white orbs. You want to keep your lantern stack up so you can see the white orbs, and so as well as keeping yourself with a pillar between you and Shriekwing. So you see here I lost the lantern buff, so I run over and get another stack. Thankfully I did not get hit by anything. If you get hit by the white, that's pretty bad, and you run the risk of dying. So after this phase is over, it's back to a single target fight. Depending on how quickly you're killing the boss, this was our first kill. Our gear was relatively lower, so we were going to get a second phase. So I'll speed things up a little bit. But if you're going to kill the boss, shortly hereafter, one of the things that I should have done, if we go back a little bit, is I have one stack of Storm, Earth, and Fire. I have Weapons of Order up, Zoo End, stuff like that. So ideally what I should have done is waited a little bit until I was the Storm, Earth, and Fire. The second Storm, Earth, and Fire charge was going to be up in within 15 seconds or so I can go straight from one into the other. So you see, I pop all my cooldowns, go back into kind of the Weapons of Order damage phase, do as much damage as I can. You'll see that when Storm, Earth, and Fire ran out, I still had 8 to 10, I think it was 8 seconds or so left before the second Storm, Earth, and Fire was up. So ideally, if the DPS is low enough that you're going to have that time, that's a very useful amount to delay things by. Just so you can get that full 30 seconds of Storm, Earth, and Fire with your Weapons of Order and stuff like that. So just very useful. But again, that depends heavily on the amount of time you have until the boss dies. If you're killing it fast enough to where you're not going to get a lot of time in this phase, maybe the boss dies before 30 seconds in this phase, that's when you'll want to just kind of pop things and get as much damage as you can before the boss dies. So it's up to you. Depends on how much damage your group does. Certainly, new groups and stuff may take longer, so you might have a little bit more room before you have to worry about that stuff. But again, this phase is just rinse and repeat. Put Transcendence down, Transcend back to the boss. Again, played it relatively safe here. Could have gone in and attacked. After Bloodshroud is over, he is not attackable. He takes reduced damage, as well as just can't be attacked. So there's no point in trying to go too hard on this phase in terms of maximizing your damage. If you are playing hit combo, you just want to try and get your hit combo buff, still rolling. You see a couple of my compatriots got hit, so we'll go back in. This was something that, if the boss fight, if I had held, I'll pause it here, if I had held my Storm, Earth, and Fire so that I had 30 seconds, so I could use them back to back in the start of the second phase. If you're getting the start of the third phase, it's very likely that you're not going to do that. You're not going to hold it long enough. As you see, I have 40 seconds left before my second Storm, Earth, and Fire comes up. And it's very likely that if I had held it that extra 10 seconds, you'd be talking about 50 seconds. So you're only going to get one Storm, Earth, and Fire in this third phase, unless you held it for some reason in the second phase. But again, that stuff is relatively minor. Most groups, I would imagine, would be killing it before you get this third damage phase. So that wouldn't be too much of a big deal. But again, it's a single target fight, very simple. Not too much else to talk about it. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully the second round of the video is a little bit more informative than the first. You can check out more of my videos on my channel. Make sure to like and subscribe to this one. Let me know in the comments what you think. If there's anything else that maybe I could have talked about, or any other videos you'd like for me to make. In the description below is the details about how to support me through Patreon and PayPal. Check out peakofserenity.com, all that other stuff. So thank you very much for watching, and have a good night, morning, afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are.